My name is Oz du Soleil from Excel on Fire. My favorite Power Query feature is Unpivot. Welcome to Power Query Magic.
Oz,
Yeah,
lovely to
win.
catch up with you, sir.
That's right. That's
Wel-
right.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's awesome to chat to all the people that I've learnt from. That's my
Hmm.
whole aim here is to just to chat to all the people that have influenced me and that I've found interesting to listen to and read their blogs. So
Oh, I'm on that list.
you're on that list.
Wow. Wow.
You're
All
the, you're the
right.
one you're the one who's sort of like YouTube videos I started watching and went, I'm learning something, but I'm actually quite enjoying it as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
That's all
And
right.
yeah, and I've heard from some people. I would get a message from LinkedIn, something like it took a workshop from Win Hopkins, and he mentioned me, and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
here they are, subscribe to the channel and wanting to connect on LinkedIn. So I appreciate that.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, when I do my training courses, yours is one of the ones, especially for people learning Power Query right at the start. It can be a bit daunting. There's everyone's got their niche in terms of how they present stuff, but sort of the approachable way that you present things is
Mm,
just is it great for people who are learning Power Query at the beginning. Certainly helped me as well. So
mm,
thank you for
nice.
that.
Right, right.
Okay, so picture this: you are in a bar drinking what an old fashioned,
Yeah,
maybe
no fashion
an old fashioned with a
in
twist of
Helvetica.
orange. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Helvetica in Perth. So you came to
yeah,
Perth a few years back.
yeah.
Helvetica is a good bar. Good
Yes,
bar.
it is.
Okay, all right. So you're in
Oh,
Helvetica in
yeah,
Perth. Okay. You're not allowed to smoke a cigar there, though. Sorry, no,
that's
not
right.
allowed in Perth. A stranger comes up to you and says, so what do you do, Oz? And you say, how do you know my name? But then apart from that, you say, so what do you say? What's your reply?
I teach people Excel.
And does that trigger another question? Or do you get people just go nod and then they walk away? Or is there a bit of interest there?
Yeah, a lot of people will say, "Oh, uh, I need to learn more Excel." A lot of people say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, or they might say that they hate Excel and they used it in a previous job and they're glad they don't have to anymore. Uh, a few people do wonder what is Excel, and they don't
Okay.
know about spreadsheets or anything. But a lot of people do say, "Oh, I need to learn Excel."
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard you've even opened up your laptop in a bar and
Several
showed people.
times.
That's
Several
commitment
times.
to the cause.
Sitting there, they start asking me some kind of a question, and yeah, they've heard of pivot tables. What is a pivot table? What I've heard of them. I've heard they're great, and so then I'll do something. I'll like maybe make a list of names and then some items across the top, and then uh, some random numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so no, I'll make. So I just described a pivot table. Actually, I need to go backwards and unpivot what I just said.
What you need, Oz, is have a query to then unpivot that table for
Yeah,
them.
right. So I'll make a whole lot of data and then show them, okay, now you want some summaries or something, right? So we
Yeah,
aren't going to
yeah.
write formulas. What we're going to do is go to insert pivot table. Yes, put it on the next worksheet, and then here's the field list, and we can drag some stuff in. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I've done that right at the bar with the bartender on the other side making drinks.
Awesome.
Um, lots of times like that.
Yeah, yeah. Pivot tables is one of those things, isn't it? That sort of scares people, or they just, it's seen as sort of some sort of, magical mystery thing. But when you actually show them and they get it, it's quite eye opening. It always surprises
Yeah,
me that pivot tables have this barrier to people understanding them.
yeah. And I feel like, and why, and part of a philosophy on my channel, Excel on Fire, is to get into the whys and whens and what happens if versus I'm gonna show you something and isn't that cool? And then they're still looking at,
Yeah, yeah,
well, why do I want to do this? And then also I've noticed that a lot of people's data is not ready to go into a pivot table. So it's in a bunch of different places, or there's all kinds of gaps in it. Something's going on, and they're not aware of the cleanup that has to be done so that the data can go into the pivot table. So there's through teaching some workshops early on, that's what I noticed is going on with a lot of people.
yeah. The fact that the data isn't in the right structure at the start,
Hmm.
it's just a showstopper.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can try and do all the clever stuff at the end, but it's if it's in the wrong shape, if it's missing stuff, if it's got gaps all
full,
over.
yes, full of totals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
All the
Headers.
subtotals down there, headers in there, all those sorts of things. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah,
and that's where the magic of Power Query comes in to
yeah. The
help these
magic of
people.
Power Query. That's right. That's right. But we still got to get them over that. Go over that hump. Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So we were saying, so you came to Perth.
Yeah.
I haven't been to your hometown yet. So you're in Portland. Yeah,
Hmm. Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. And how long have you been there?
This year will be 7 years in August.
And where were you before that?
Chicago.
Okay. Was it a work move? What
I
triggered the
that
move?
that's there's many different variables that played into it, but basically I wanted a slower life, but still in a city. I didn't need intensity anymore. I loved New York City for the longest. Man, I went to New York City for the first time in '86.
Oh, okay.
Loved it. Um, but then around 2008, I saw, you know what? I don't need this go congestion all the time, but I still
Yeah.
want access to things that a city provides. So Portland has exceeded my expectations.
Awesome. And if you were to
Yeah.
take me out to, return the favor of me taking you to
Hmm.
Helvetica, what's the
Hmm.
most sort of, what's that sort of speakeasy, sort of moody type bar? Is there one or two in Portland you can recommend?
I would recommend there's two places. The Scotch Lodge
Okay.
is kind of a small place. Um, Great bartenders. Uh, there's one Jessica. Jessica's a bartender. I can go in and I just ask her make me something, and she over the years she's gotten to know my palate, and then she'll think a second and she'll come back with something. Boom, it'll be great. And
Excellent.
then there's Multnomah Whiskey Library.
Whiskey
Now,
Library.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
they have man, whiskeys and bourbons from all over the world. Um, and they have a ladder on a rail that goes
Oh,
around. And
yeah.
so if you
Nice.
ask for something, they might have to go up the ladder to get it. And there again, they've got good bartenders who can make you something. They've got good cocktails on the menu. It could be a 3 hour wait to get up there. Um,
Right.
I've gone there sometimes where I could go straight up, or there might be a 20-minute wait. or it could be 3 hours. But those are the two places that I would pick.
Awesome, awesome. There's something really special about finding a place as well that sort of the bartender and people there sort of know who you are. I think this
Yeah.
is. I remember there was sort of in my many younger days, many years ago, there was a local pub back in the UK, and myself and my friend used to probably go there too often, but it was okay. But there could be a big queue at the bar. We'd walk through the door, catch the barman's eye, little raised hand, and then
Hmm.
you could just sort of stroll up about 5 minutes later, and your drink would be there, and you wouldn't have to queue. It was those sorts of nice sorts of scenarios.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
you've
Yes.
made it.
Yes.
You know you've
You're
landed.
somebody.
You're
Yeah.
somebody when you can just give a little nod, a little wink to the
Yep.
to the bar staff, and they know what you want. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, right. You have a degree in philosophy, and you've served in the Navy.
Hmm.
So I can't imagine there was much Excel involved in either of those two.
No.
So where does the journey start for you then in sort of getting into becoming an Excel instructor, an Excel MVP? Where does that
Well,
little bit begin?
there's a lot, and I've told these stories uh before. Like the very first time I touched Excel was I did a temp job at Yomega. They make yo-yos.
Ah, okay.
And it was just like 2 hours of data entry. First time I saw Excel. But then the next time was when I was in customer service and I got frustrated with my supervisor complaining that my calls were too long. And I was spending too much time between calls. And she had this report with all the numbers and the red circles and arrows. And I got irritated. And then I started thinking I could just complain back, or I could collect up everything that I do for a week, every call, a description of what happened on the call. And I was writing it down in a notepad. And then I saw this thing called Excel. I opened it up, saw the cells, and saw that I could make charts and stuff. And so then I put all of that stuff out of the notebook and into Excel. And then I saw categories. I saw like, okay, um, tech support or process a refund, or somebody called asking about when a certain instructor was teaching another course. And so I was able to then get those summaries, made some ugly charts, and manually did my math. I didn't even know how to write formulas, but um, it was fascinating to see what my week looked like on the phones. I was spending more time on tech support calls. I thought, if I send these results to my supervisor, she's going to ignore them. She's not going to pay attention to them. My director might get irritated with me. I sent it to the president of the company.
Okay.
He took it seriously, but I had to think about it, you know, because I really could have, found myself out of a job or
Yeah.
hassled until I quit. Calls started getting rerouted different ways. The call center got divided up different ways, all because of this data I got from a week of what I was doing.
And
Uh,
had you ever sort of spoken to that sort of person before? The head of the
no,
head of the organ. You decided, nah, it's just going to go
it
to
it
them.
it was kind of a, I'm
Hail
willing to
Mary.
die on this hill.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so from that point, then did you start doing more reporting in that role, more Excel work, and self-taught, or did you actually get some training? Or
No formal training. Um, what happened? Uh, a new director came in and he saw that I had a knack for analysis,
okay,
just digging. Because one other thing that I would do was when I noticed that there was some kind of a consistent problem that people were calling up about, I would go look in the reports to see what the reports were saying. A big thing was these insurance agents, they had to complete certain curriculum and then we would um, report them to their state as having completed them. Business rules would change. So at one time there was 4 courses that a person had to take. And then there was a rule in these states, the fourth course is optional, but the report didn't change. So now here
yeah,
is this
yeah,
person who's done the 3. They know that they're done, but the report is still waiting for them to finish that fourth course. So there again, I'm exporting data and looking and seeing, oh, this is what's going on.
and I think that you've captured there with that scenario one of the many reasons that people end up using Excel from the source system,
Hmm.
the report that was built,
Yes.
with that source system, it's no longer fit for purpose because the business rules have changed.
Right.
And
Right.
then that triggers, well, I need to get my job done. I've got a deadline. I'm
Yep.
going to export to Excel. I haven't got time to lodge a ticket and wait 16 days for some sort of, you
Green
know,
light committees and everything.
you just,
Yeah.
you need to get it done. So you go export to Excel and then you mash up some other data with it. And hence why Excel is so popular, because all of these systems or none of these systems are capable enough to keep up with the business.
Right. Right. And this is where I get frustrated with the database people about why aren't you doing this in a database? Well, because I have a bunch of certificates to send out next Friday, and all the green light committees and people deciding who's going to pay the consultant, how are they going to split paying the consultant, what is the timeline, all of that stuff. That's not going to happen by next Friday. I've got to do this stuff in Excel.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
can't tell all these people that, hey, you're gonna have to wait 8 months and then I'll send you a certificate. No, that ain't gonna work. But
Yeah.
then see, this is something interesting where I think it was Ken Pools at one conference I was at, and we were having a conversation afterwards with a bunch of folks, and he mentioned that a lot of the Excel MVPs and a lot of the hardcore Excel users, that describes how we got here. Is there was something messed up, and then there was somebody who said, "I'm gonna fix this." All this loose stuff is gonna start rattling around today, um, because the job that I had that I'm describing, it was passed over to me as kind of a Oz. We need somebody who can fix this because we are about to lose these accounts. And when I started as a commissions analyst, that's really what they wanted. They said that they could show somebody the skill. And I remember Monica, she was going to be my supervisor. She was interviewing me. She interviewed me several times. And I mentioned something with data. And she says, "Oh, that's just a pivot table. I'll show you a pivot table." Pivot table?
Okay.
But the problem was getting somebody who will get up and dig and probe and pick because the data was a mess.
Yeah, yeah.
the database has, like some accounts are State Farm. Okay, but then sometimes it's spelled State Space Farm or State Farm, and then somebody
Oh, yes.
misspells it with maybe two T's.
Yeah.
And so you can't have somebody that's just following the instructions and then, okay, here's the State Farm data. No.
Oh, my favorite, the extra little space at the end.
Mm. Just try. Yep.
I
Yep.
see people doing that. They just they write something, then they do space, and then they press return or enter. I say,
Hmm.
what's that? Why have you done that little space? It's just a habit, you know. It's like, oh, that little space, that's cost me hours, days.
Yeah.
That little
Or
space
like,
on it.
yeah, or pasting something in from a web page and it's got that trailing space in there that you can't
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
And right. And then when you do a pivot table or a formula or something, they're treated as different
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, yes. Sorry, don't get
Gotta
me
watch
started
for
on
that
this.
stuff.
Don't get me started on the spaces.
All right. All right.
Okay, so so where does it then? You know, you then end up at some point writing a book.
Right.
So so the book was Guerrilla
Guerrilla
Data
Data
Analysis.
Analysis, second edition.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So you know, there's a leap of sort of, you know, a journey there. Is that a
Hmm.
sort of a turning point to some extent? How did that come about?
Um, wow. So I was working at the job and then there was a layoff in '08 and people started calling and asking me Excel questions and if I could come in and teach their group of people some Excel stuff. Um, so then that's when I kind of decided not to go back to a regular job. Um, then I started a blog and going on forums and LinkedIn, helping people with Excel and getting into discussions. And wow, I was emailing back and forth with Bill Jelen one night and asked him about how to get clients. And he says, I don't know about getting clients, but I know about writing books. And then it led to I wrote a book back in 2002 that
Okay.
needs to be updated. Can I send you a copy to see if you are the guy to update it? And he sent it, and I said, hell yeah, I would love to update this. And so I wrote most of that. He wrote a couple of chapters in the second edition.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I had fun writing that. And we're in the process of writing the third edition now.
Ah, awesome.
But it looks like we're doing like half and half because there's so much more stuff. And I think he's gonna handle lambdas, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'd
do
leave that to him.
right.
I'm not touching. I'll get to lambdas eventually, but I don't
Yeah,
know. There's just too many other things going on.
there's so much. I'm gonna do Power Query and dynamic arrays. He's gonna
Awesome.
he might have let on his plate as well,
Ah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Ah, that'd be
we're
good.
working on that now.
And how did you get involved with Excel TV and sort of where?
What I can say is that I got an email one day. I don't remember if it was from Rick Grantham or from Jordan Goldmeyer, but they asked me if I wanted to be involved.
Yeah, yeah,
And Jordan has explained that they were talking about it, and then they needed some uh, excitement.
okay, yeah,
So they were thinking about who could they bring on to bring some
yeah. Bit
excitement,
of
and
energy
so
into it. Awesome.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
but they were already planning it, and then they invited me.
But then you got into YouTube, and
Hmm.
your first YouTube video I was looking at was the peanut butter dragon cookies.
Yeah, you went back.
I went back to the beginning. your past doesn't escape you on YouTube.
Mm.
So, what can you just explain what was that whole thing, the peanut butter dragon cookies?
Um, I like spicy food.
Okay.
Um, what?
Were
Wow.
these cookies that you'd made, or were they ones you'd
Yes.
bought? You'd made
No, I
these.
made them. I made 'em.
Okay, you
It
made.
took me 6 months to perfect that recipe.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, yes. Um, okay, so one major point early, I don't remember the exact starting point, but one was um, I like sriracha. I'm in a sriracha documentary. It's called a sriracha documentary.
Right.
Right. And so I was wondering, are there any sriracha cookies? And so I found a recipe for a sriracha peanut butter cookie. And all they did was just put some sriracha
Oh,
in the recipe. They didn't like integrate it or do something
okay.
true. And the heat was gone, the way that the recipe was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started thinking, how can I get the heat and still have a good cookie?
Okay.
And I read this book called How Baking Works and The Science of Cooking, something like that.
Oh, yeah. That rings a bell.
Yeah, yeah. And it taught me about if you want a softer cookie, what you need to do. If you want a crispy cookie, what's going on when your cookies are burned on the bottom, but they're
Right.
still kind of raw inside. All of this stuff. And so I was able to figure out, okay, what kind of flour do I want? I started using pastry flour for the cookie. I started using fresh ghost peppers. Those are hard to get, but I eventually learned about making a puree and then some other secrets. It was a 2-day process because
Wow.
I learned about the gluten strands in a cookie and how you mix them and they get tough and then you want them to relax. So I would give 24 hours once I've made it, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
24 hours, and then I would break off pieces and then put them in the oven.
And then, because then I saw so you mentioned your hot food. So I then sort of remember watching your one chip challenge.
Mm,
The,
mm.
what is it? The world's hottest sort of
Well,
nacho chip type thing. Is that what it is?
yeah, Pocky, they do a one chip challenge. So there's this chip that comes in a coffin shaped box, one chip,
Nice touch in the coffin. I like
and
it.
it's got, I think, scorpion pepper powder on it.
Right.
And it was coming out every year in the fall, and they stopped for a couple years, and I think they started up again last year. And um, I did it that one year, and it was hot.
Yeah.
But the thing was, it didn't taste good.
Right.
That's why I left it alone in subsequent years. Because if it tasted good, I might have done it again. But yeah,
Yeah.
that thing was hot.
Well, I'm going to put a link to that video in the show notes so people can watch Oz eating that ridiculously hot one.
It was rough.
And the other day, when I was sort of preparing for this chat, I watched your trailer video from 2013, and you were there stating that you wanted to help people fight against messy data.
Hmm.
That was 8 years ago. You were on this sort of this mission, pre-Power
Yeah,
Query.
yeah.
So you get into doing these videos. Then what triggers you to do a particular video now on Excel or Power Query, and you know what gives you
What tr
inspiration?
what triggers me as far as like keeping keeping up on the channel or for
Yeah, well, both
individual videos
individual
or both?
videos and the ideas. What
Okay.
triggers you, and then why keep doing it?
So, so for the channel, I like making videos for one thing. Um, and then I like to empower people. I don't want to do projects. take something behind the black curtain and do it and then send it back to a client. I want them to be empowered so when I'm gone, they can keep doing their thing. So that's a big part of my channel is I want you empowered. I'm not just going to show you some standalone trick that you don't know why to do it or when to do it or you don't know the pitfalls. That's a big thing. Um, so that's why the channel keeps going. And then why an individual video, it depends on how the idea came to me.
Okay.
And I remember now the video I made a drill down video. A guy, no. I didn't do a drill down video. I did a video that a guy showed me how to do something. And then you and a bunch of other people like DM'd me and whatnot and say, Oz, do you know the drill down? You could just drill the right click. Just and that's when I made that video of the people with the lanterns and the guys on the balcony.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. Is like it's always inspired from somewhere, and so um I felt like after maybe five people contacted me about that, I felt persecuted. I felt like
Yeah.
people were coming with their torches and
Yeah,
things,
yeah, yeah.
and so I had fun with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then I went and got some footage from the Frankenstein movie. 'Cause, it's in fair use now because it's been enough time. Then there's others where let me think.
But it's like the X lookup Peace Summit video.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you could have just gone, yeah, X lookup has arrived, da and this is what it
right.
does. But you've gone sort of full Hollywood on it and sort of have,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, helicopters flying in and
yeah, and
com.
so here's yeah, and I got to give you credit too because you were saying since you come into Perth, we should have a peace summit.
That's,
And so then I said, yeah, okay. So it's just building on the idea that started there. Was okay. So then while I was in Perth, we recorded the Peace Summit. Gasper and Boriana had cameras, had our phone cameras,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
walked into the room, and you had the decree printed up, and we both signed it and shook hands. And then when I got home with the footage, then I start thinking, what is a proper Peace Summit?
yeah, yeah,
And heighten it. So now yeah, we got the helicopters and security and and police looking at screens and limousine motorcades.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause
And yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you clearly enjoy the theatre of this as well, the
Yes.
sort of the making it as engaging as possible and adding some
Yep.
color and because you even get like one of your friends don't you to do some voiceovers and things sometimes and
Yep.
little intros and these sorts of so it's
Yep. Yep. And I remember with the Grand High Mistress of Excel.
that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was thinking about this because I had did a video comparing um, Flash Fill and Column by Example, and Column by Example did horrible in comparison.
Okay.
And some of the engineers with that make Excel got in touch with me and asked me, "Do I have any other scenarios?" And about 4 months later, they contacted me and said, "Okay, these scenarios work, and this one scenario is never going to be supported." Wow. So now, what is this? What can I outrageous? Okay, how about I get kidnapped and these people say, "Yeah, we saw your video, But you know what, Mr. Smarty Pants, we fixed it. Okay, but now how can I make it even bigger? A Grand High Empress of Excel that's had me kidnapped by her
Right.
goons.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I asked my friend, just film your mouth saying, "Oh, I saw your video, Mr. Smarty Pants." You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yep. And part of it was heightened because in the after when I'm in post production, once I've recorded everything and then I'm looking for videos and sound clips and stuff, I saw video of a dark road. So just something's driving down this dark road.
Okay.
Okay, that helps. Okay, that's another layer I can add to the picture. And now I got to get a sound clip of like driving on a gravel road. All right. So put all that stuff together and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
beautiful. But then that's where 15 to 20 hours goes into making a 7-minute video.
Yeah, that's
You know?
incredible. But then
Yeah.
now Camtasia have asked you to do a session for them, you were saying.
Yeah. 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 I was surprised that they know me at TechSmith.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am doing a tutorial for them. And
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I look forward to that coming out.
yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the magic that is Power Query.
Okay.
Do you happen to remember where the first time you saw it or where you came across it?
Okay. Um, Let me say two things. One is something I've never told before.
Okay.
With Excel TV, we went to New York to help with Model Off. And since we were all going to be in town, um, I got an email saying some engineers that make Excel, they're going to be holding some sessions to meet with people one on one about how they use Excel and bring an example. So I brought this example that I from a law firm that I had done a project for. And I was showing how it worked, how it hung together, and some problems that I had. And then one of the engineers says, "Well, do you think Power Query would have been better?" And I said, "No, I don't think so. That thing is kind of, And I said some stuff, and then he came back and said in a kind of a nice way. He asked me basically if I knew what I was talking about, and I didn't. I didn't. Oh, but when I really did get Power Query was somebody sent me some data and it was like a pivot table. It looked like a pivot table and
Yeah.
I needed just rows and columns. I didn't need these summaries. And I remember seeing a video somewhere about unpivot. I was thinking I could just unwind this thing and it's going to take maybe a half hour or I can try to find that unpivot.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't even go find that other video. I went in there. I brought the data into Power Query. That was easy to do. And then unpivot. Boom. It was done. That's what I was sold, Jack.
Yeah, yeah.
Then that's when I started finding out about split column by leftmost delimiter or group by all these other things. Man, it just kept going. That's my thing now.
Yeah. And same moment for me. Just discovering unpivot other columns. Just going, having had to do that in using macros in the past or just some sort of horrible keyboard combination weird stuff and
Hmm.
it was hours of work. So right
Yep.
click, I'm just like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm in. I am.
Yep. And I remembered Bill Jelen made a video back before all this about unwinding a pivot table, and it involves uh going through some like back door to get
Yeah, that's the
some
one I used to use.
old
Yeah,
features
yeah,
that are
yeah, that's
still
the one.
there but not there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I used to use. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it only worked if it was like one sort of column down the left. If there were three columns on the left, it couldn't work. And it was just like, oh, but yeah, yeah,
But
that's
man,
that.
Power Query, yes. And when I talk with folks, okay, so there was one time I was downtown Portland and these runners got out and they had their numbers and everything. But then they had all this stuff that they had written on the windows of the van. And there was one that said Spreadsheet Becky. And I looked, I said, Spreadsheet Becky? Yeah, that's Becky. She knows everything you want to know about Excel. She said, yeah, I make Excel my bitch. Oh, okay, all right. So I said, yeah, I'm an Excel MVP. And I showed her my jacket that I was wearing and said, you use Power Query? Power Query? No, I don't use Power Query. You okay. All right. All right.
You're missing a big piece of fun.
That's right. A huge piece of fun. That's right.
And it's
Yeah.
the same everywhere. It's just folks just are not aware of it, and that's one of the a bit of the reason I'm doing this is to try and sort of again spread a bit of awareness. But it
And
just
thank
makes
you.
makes such a difference to people's lives when they start
Yes, it
using it.
does. Thank you. And um, I'm involved with discussions occasionally about basic and beginner Excel. And I feel obligated. I've got to slip in some Power Query
Yeah,
because when you are thrown into the fire, you got to do stuff. And one common thing is splitting a column. Okay. I will show that. I'll show unpivot. I won't get into writing M code.
no,
I won't get into some all kind of other hairy things. But splitting a column is a basic need. It might not be a basic skill, or but it's a need.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So thank you for doing this to highlight Power Query, and that's part of my mission as well is to get into Power Query, keep ringing that bell, but then also comparing. When is it easier to do something in Excel versus Power Query?
yeah,
Strategy.
yeah, yeah. I do see, the occasional post down again of people going, "Oh, I haven't used VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP or anything, ever. Just use Power Query for everything." It's just you use the right tool in the right scenario.
Yeah.
The fact that Power Query doesn't refresh automatically, that's a hurdle then
Yep.
between, you know, changing a little number here and you want to see the result. And if you don't know, you have to click the refresh. Like somebody else is using this report, then that's a hurdle, and it just takes longer. So you're over engineering,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that doesn't help anybody.
Right. And so that's why I figure, part of my mission is to help highlight those kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah. I just, it is. I just want more people to know about it. I did a training course a while back, and aimed at a HR department, learning Excel tips and tricks and basics and stuff like this, and some pivot tables and a few of these other things. And this was long enough ago that they'd only just got Excel 2019 or 2016. They'd upgraded, from 2010. So Power Query is pretty new. So at the end of the course, it wasn't part of the structure. That wasn't what they'd asked for, but I wanted to sneak it in. Just want to sneak it in there. So
Yes.
I'd already in the course showed them like the left and the right function and, concatenate or the ampersand and all this sort of stuff. And then I show them Power Query. You click this column, and you go merge. And then you click that column, you say split apart, and you click that column and you go uppercase. And they just went, "Why did you show us all this other stuff?" It's just like, what was this morning's part of the course point? It's just like, yeah, well,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it is.
exciting.
It is exciting.
There's this, I'm thinking about so many things that I could have done so much easier if Power Query existed at the time.
Yeah,
But we've got it now, and
yeah,
you and I are on the mission to, like, you got to use this thing.
yeah. So for people starting out, so you're running courses on LinkedIn as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it just talk me through one of those then in terms of the process for creating that course. They get you into a studio with all like a producer and all that sort of stuff. Is that what happens?
Well, so before the lockdowns and everything, yeah, we would discuss a course, um, make a outline for the course. The producer then goes and gets it approved or has questions or whatever. We get have discussions about should it be 45 minutes, 2 hours, 5 hours, um, lots of discussion. And then once everything is all set up and I've been passed off to my producer, then I would go to California in a recording booth, and they've got all their audio people, um, and get me all set up. And then I start to record the videos. And it's an interesting process because when I'm sitting here and I do something like, uh, I want to show you something. I want to show you a pivot table. And then my producer is on the other side of the glass listening. And he said I sounded tired,
Okay.
right? Because I had to realize I am not on camera. People can't see my facial expression. So I have to use my voice in a different way.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But then the exciting thing is once the videos are all recorded, I go back home and they do the editing and the putting any type of highlights and arrows and whatnot in there, and
yeah,
then they upload it. But I've liked that relationship because I get to be the expert. I don't have to also be the video editor and the copywriter and whatnot.
yeah, yeah. And if
Yeah.
you've seen sort of Power Query having sort of big impacts on sort of what people are doing, have people got in touch with you and said, oh, it saved me hours with. Now I know that sort of. What's your experience of that?
A lot, a lot of folks, they see how Power Query has saved them time, is create increased accuracy. They look brilliant all of a sudden,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Because now they can unpivot something. They can split a column at the semicolon without having everything fly apart on them.
I don't think the Power Query team in Microsoft really actually realize how much better they're making people's lives. I sometimes think
Mm,
they're in their engineering world tackling these technical
mhm.
problems, and they're not really facing with the end users. And it's people like us who are sharing the sort of end
Yeah,
results who get all the thanks.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
really those
and
those folks who have just amazing.
yeah. But you remind me of one of the top benefits of being an MVP is having access to these engineers and being able to participate in this in the global summit.
Yeah,
Um, and they have said several times, we're here in Redmond making the thing. We aren't out in the field, so we need for you to come back and tell us what you see out there. And it is pretty neat where I might raise my hand and mention something. And then after a session, I had one of the engineers say, Oz, I suspected something like that, but I didn't have the use case. Can you email me later, or can we talk later to get more into what you described there?
Yeah, yeah.
So, so for folks that want to be MVPs and they want to do it because it'll help their career, I don't find that as the benefit. I find the benefit is those kind of conversations where I can help influence the future of Excel for everybody.
Yeah, totally agree. It does trigger a memory of mine. I think it's the first summit I went to and where I sort of first met you. And a session had finished and we were sort of just walking out, and I think it was a Power Query session, and Miguel Lopez was there, sort of who heads up the Power Query team, and he just
Yeah.
sort of turns to you and goes, "Oh, I love your videos, by the way." And I just saw your face and it was like, "Oh, awesome," you know.
that that is just amazing.
It
It's so amazing.
was pretty cool.
I'm this guy sitting in his living room making videos and having fun, and but committed to something. And so it does mean a lot when these engineers see something that they feel like they appreciate, they whatever. It's, man,
Yeah, there's some smart
yeah,
cookies in that team as well. You know, in the whole whole
definitely.
Microsoft, obviously. But you just my shock, or not shock, but and I shouldn't really be surprised. But some of the people who are chatting there, they're young people as well. Really
Hmm.
young, and they
Yeah.
just seem to know it inside out already.
Hmm.
When I was
Hmm.
their age, I'd have known nothing. And now, yeah, it's just amazing. So, okay. Right, it's time for my quiz section. Five
Oh,
impossible questions. Okay, so they're just so hard you shouldn't know the answer to any of them.
okay.
Okay, even if you're living this 24 hours a day. So I'm trying to put in totally unfair questions. Okay,
Okay.
so a little
And
while
and
ago.
I'm I'm consenting to this abuse.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right.
So, so if you just answer no, I don't know 5 times, you're fine. That's the
Oh,
expected response. Okay.
okay.
Right. So a little while back, you did the Excel hash, where you
Hmm.
sort of encourage people to use certain things in Excel, functions,
Yep.
features,
And
and you
you
have
did that too as
and you,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the ones I did not like using was the even function.
No.
Okay. Right. So in Power Query, is there a function called number.isEven? Oh, he's thinking.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes, there is. Good. Okay. So there is an M function, number is even. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. In Excel, there's the refresh all button. Okay. On the main tab in normal Excel. There's a drop down. You can I only ever click that big button, but there is a little drop down on it. Name anything else that shows up under that little drop down button. So you've got refresh
Mm.
all, and then there's actually, right, I'm looking at the screenshot now. Bizarrely, there's actually 1, 2, 3, there's 4 options under there. I told you,
Um,
impossible.
refresh pivot tables.
Nah, I'll give you one
No.
more. Do you want one more guess, or are you giving up?
Um,
It's. I would not know any of these.
let me.
Oh, he's thinking.
Let me think.
I've stumped him.
Well, that's your goal, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is the.
Just
It's
to
an
be
M.
firm like this,
It's impossible.
right? So, refresh current.
Oh, there is just refresh. Okay, so that's pretty
Hmm.
much. So there's refresh all, then there's just refresh, which I'm not sure at all what that would do. I guess maybe if your cursor's inside a table, maybe it
That's what
would
I'm
just
thinking. That's what I'm wondering if that's what it does. If I'm sitting in a pivot table,
yeah.
would
Can you
that
just
just refresh the pivot table
maybe?
and not everything?
Yeah. Then there's a little icon saying refresh status. No idea. Then there's cancel refresh, which again, I didn't know. And then there's connection properties is under there. So there we go. M possible questions. Okay,
All right.
this one's even worse. All right. So Power Query, there's a little setting query options, which you hardly ever click on, right? At least I don't. So there's query options, and you can set a few things like privacy settings and all those sorts of things. But there's also a regional settings. Okay. What is the very first language, stroke locale, as it's called, at the top of the list, drop-down list? So you can pick English United States, you can pick English Australia, you can pick,
Afrikaans.
Oh, that's a good guess. It is Afar Djibouti. Okay, so
Okay.
Afar from, not to be confused with Afar, and I apologize for my pronunciation to this because it could be Avar. So Afar Eritrea and Afar Ethiopia. So there we go.
Okay.
Right, number 4. If you right-click a column of text in the Power Query editor, so you've got a column of text, you're in Power Query editor, it's formatted as text, okay? You go the right-click transform, where we've got beautiful things like trim and capitalize each word and all these other glorious Power Query features that save people time. Okay, so I'm going to list the ones you're not allowed to say, and you've got to give me another example. So under that list, there is lowercase, there is uppercase, there's capitalize each word and trim. Give me 2 more.
Um,
And again,
Split digit to 9-digit.
no,
No,
no.
I'm in the wrong place.
So we go change. We go in transform, right click
Right.
transform, and like I say, I would not know the answer to these,
Right.
so I'm just being mean. We go lowercase, uppercase, capitalize each word, trim. There's
Clean.
Yes, clean. Good work. And then there's 3 more that I've never clicked on.
I don't know.
Now, length, JSON, and XML, which I've never.
Okay.
Like I say, impossible.
Man.
Okay, and last one, maybe you might actually have a chance of this one, maybe not, I'm not sure. So when you go get data from other sources, okay, can you name one of the other sources that come
Blank
up?
query.
Blank query. Beautiful, Oz. Thank you. There you go. Good work.
Yeah.
Okay, crystal ball time. What would you like to see in terms of future developments? So,
Okay. I've thought about this, and one thing is an incremental import, but let me see. I've had one situation where that caused a huge headache. One, but on a regular basis, I have had, um, like, say I've got a 10-step um, query, and there is something that's erroring out, and it's on row 183.
yeah.
And I want to step, and then I got to scroll down and see, did it error out here? Step, scroll,
Oh,
step,
yeah.
scroll. I would love it if I could sit it there so I could see row 183 and step and see, okay, step 7 is where it crapped out.
Yeah, where did that item? Yes, I like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. And are there any sort of user voice ideas or those sorts of things that anybody should potentially vote for that you're interested in? What any
Well, I think
improvements in
there's that
Excel?
one about having the blanks and A's up top.
Oh, the one just from the other day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that one.
That is good.
Yeah.
It's sort of it impacts everybody. So yeah. And plans for the future then. So what have you got on? Have you got? So you said about the Camtasia thing, some
Hmm.
LinkedIn learning courses,
Right.
anything, those
Right.
sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I just recorded. So I've got two ongoing challenges. A beginner to intermediate challenge comes out on LinkedIn Learning's library every Friday.
Okay.
And then there's a power users one that comes out every other Monday. And I just recorded another 6 months worth.
Wow.
So and I have fun with those. I
Yeah.
bring real world challenges, and I always try to, really make it real world and not just some like, oh, I need a pivot table to do this. Oh, I'll just write an if statement to do this. But there's often more. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, before you can do this challenge, yes, you're going to use a pivot table, but you got to clear out all these gaps. Now, how are you going to clear out these gaps? That's the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you going to split this column? Uh, those kinds of things that like if you're sitting at a desk, there's rarely just one thing you're going to do in a challenge. So, and then I use the challenges to kind of, for people who don't know what the hell to do, what they can get out of it is an exploration of what's possible in Excel. So maybe you don't know how to get four squares all lined up, but you'll see that yes, you can put squares in Excel and you can line them up and get them evenly distributed.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Uh,
think part of that thing of just you might not have a need for stuff right now, but knowing it's
yeah,
possible as well. Just
yes,
knowing that
yes,
somebody's done it, and in the back of your head is like, oh, Oz has got a post or a video on that somewhere,
yep.
and then yeah,
Um, and so there's the Guerrilla Data Analysis
yeah, yeah.
uh, third edition that'll come out next year. Um, so that's what's happening right now, and
Awesome.
then more more videos on Excel on Fire.
And that's the best place for people to find you, is it? Excel
Yep,
on
yep,
Fire.
yep,
Yeah, get on
yep.
there,
That's the best
subscribe.
place. Yep,
Awesome.
yep.
So it certainly, influenced me in getting involved in doing YouTube stuff and doing this sort of thing. So I thank you for that, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping things up a little bit, I like to ask my guests if they've had any sort of brushes with fame or there are little known facts about them that they're willing to share. So have you got any of those
Yeah.
sorts of things, Oz?
A lot. A lot. First of all, I think about, running into the serial killer Alton Coleman. You know,
Okay, the
that was,
serial killer running, right?
yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
expecting that.
No.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because he was playing three card money on the bus, and then he took my money and he kept trying to get my radio from me. And we had these boom boxes back in the 80s,
Yeah, yeah.
and he kept trying to get that from me. But I literally ran from him and the guy that was with him. And then soon after that, he was on the news. He had started his serial
Whoa.
killing spree. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
I was
But
expecting something more like, yeah, I once bumped into, I don't know, Tom Hanks, that sort of thing.
no,
No, go
no.
the
But
serial killer story.
yeah, but
Okay.
my uncles were session singers in New York City,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they've done a lot of stuff, man. I didn't know my uncle Frank was on so many Steely Dan albums.
Wow.
And my uncle Bobby did a lot of commercials. I went to a party with my uncle Bobby and Paul Schaefer from the David Letterman show. He was there.
Right.
Yeah. Um, then when I was working at a cigar shop, there were a lot of people that would come in there. But Mike Ditka,
Right.
the,
All right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you familiar with Mike
Yeah, yeah,
Ditka?
yeah.
Okay, that guy, he was big and the way he moved, it was like he was a nice guy, but he did his energy was like he had something to do.
Right.
He was very deliberate.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was this one time I was helping this customer. This lady comes in, older lady. I've got $20 and I want to get my husband a nice cigar. It's his birthday. And I said, you know what? You don't need to spend $20 to get a good cigar. A $20 cigar at the time, it was going to be a whole bunch of marketing and gimmicks. You
Right.
could get a good $15 cigar or a really good $10 cigar. And she's just not going with me. And I'm being truthful with her.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally I convinced her to get like maybe this $10 cigar. That's when Mike Ditka walks in and he's standing there at the counter and he's uh paying for the box of cigars that he's buying. And this lady, Coach, that's Mike Ditka. Uh, Coach, he says this is a good cigar. Is it? He didn't even look at her. Reached in his blazer pocket, pulled out his cigar pouch, handed her a cigar. That's a good one. Give it to him. He'll know. It was
Right.
a Cuban Cohiba Bellicoso. It's
Okay.
like hard to get for one because at the time it was illegal to bring Cuban cigars into the
Yeah,
states.
yeah, yeah.
So it got in
So
somehow.
this
I
was the
don't know how he.
premier cigar.
Yes, yes. And I'm I want to say that because Mike Ditka had it, it was real because there's a lot of counterfeits.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
awesome.
getting it from Mike Ditka, that woman's husband got a really good prize there.
Awesome.
Uh,
And one requirement for coming on to Power Query Magic is you need to leave two of your own articles. So or blogs or videos. So your most popular and your favorite. So what are you going to leave with us? And I'll leave links to these in the show notes.
right. The absolute most popular is one on. It was when slicers came out and we could apply them to tables.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
was good.
that video's been up a while, so it's got a whole lot more views than anything else. But yeah, that's my number one video.
Yeah, and
And
then
then I believe, I have so much fun with my videos, but if I had to pick one, it would be from this past Excel hash, the
okay,
facilitator video.
right. We'll
Yeah,
put a link in for that.
yeah.
We'll get people in there to watch it. And what did you like about it?
One thing was because you had so many people. I think we had 18 people doing this, and it wasn't necessary for me to repeat a whole bunch of stuff. And I didn't have to get into how the thing worked. I could just demo it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that freed me up to have more fun with the theatrics and tell a story.
Yeah,
So it was a whole different mindset when I was putting that together. And I just allowed myself to have fun.
awesome.
But you know something, I also have to say that I appreciate the audience that has come up around Excel on Fire because they've appreciated the fun. They want the fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and my channel has not grown very big or as fast as others, but I appreciate them for what we do together
I think it's
because they allow me to do videos like the facilitator.
yeah, and for me, the reason I recommend that your channel to folks is because it's fun and engaging, and it's you're learning in an enjoyable way. So yeah, fully
Yeah.
recommend folks jump on.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
last thing then. So I'm going to strand you on a desert island, and I'm basically
Hmm.
stealing this idea from another radio show and podcast. So I'm stranding you on a desert island. You've got one item you're allowed to take with you, but it must begin with M, in honor of the M language of Power Query. So what
Right.
item are you going to take with you?
The car I drive is a Mercury Mariner. That's what I'm taking with me.
Okay.
Yes. And it's not so I can drive it because I'm a
Yeah, there's no
will
petrol. There's
run
no gas
right,
stations.
run out of gas pretty quickly. But I've watched enough of these reality shows to think about having things that you can cannibalize.
Yeah, yeah.
Like maybe the foam in the seat can start a fire easy than grabbing a bunch of leaves.
Good,
I might be
good.
able to take the fabric from the seats and keep myself warm or sleep inside the car
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be away from bugs.
yeah. Awesome. Brilliant. So, well, thanks, Oz. It's been awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Thoroughly,
This
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes, as have I, and I really appreciate that you're doing this. This is a
Well,
good thing.
hopefully, folks like it, and we teach at least two or three more people that Power Query, and they teach two or three more people, and eventually we'll spread the magic everywhere. So keep
Yes,
sharing that magic, and
yes.
I will hopefully speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you.